Okay, here we are in the next round with a keep. We got again a nice 2 and 3 drop. And some of the things, as I say hello and good luck to my opponent, that I want to be keeping in mind that I said earlier is paying attention to these guild gates to see if they bite me in the butt. Also paying attention to whether or not I need to be taking out some of my enchantments based on some removal. So those were the two things I was kind of keeping my eye on. So far we're good. Another True Fire Paladin into Viasino First Blade. Pretty good. My opponent only having one color mana at the moment does help quite a bit. Ooh, looks like Stuck on Islands. Is there a play? No, okay, so that's going to be pretty hard on my opponent. What sort of... There's no real flasheroo or tricky thing on just blue against creatures. So we'll rock that. Here we are, our next guild gate. This might be the first one's kind of bite us in the butt about not being able to get our Scorchwalker down to add a whole lot more pressure. Here comes Is It and a Rune Wing. I'm a-okay with Rune Wing. So I could go ahead and play the Guild Gate, Madcap skills up my Viasino First Blade to tack in for 5. Certainly an option. Although I think I just kind of like the idea of doing True Fire Paladin with my options open. Do this, pay 4. It's only it's going to be 1 extra point of damage, and then it keeps my Madcap skills open for later as needed. Yeah, especially if I end up feeling like I get later on into a position where I need a Merciless Eviction. I think I'm going to be a-okay with just doing 4 points of damage here. I presume there's no blocking, yeah. I'm sure my opponent's fine with that. Nivik Cyclops. Okay. So we still only have 1 pump on the True Fire Paladin, which means my opponent can double block. So maybe it is time to go ahead and Madcap skills. Probably better to Knightly Valor or Punish the Enemy. The thing is, Punish the Enemy I want to save for a nice 2-for-1. So if we do Knightly Valor here, we can attack in with a 4/4 Vigilance guy, and that does keep my opponent having to either chump or take another 4 damage, and I like that idea. We're going to put it on our Viasino First Blade, because, again, diversifying the resources. Ooh, Rapid Hybridization. So that was something I was not anticipating seeing, but that is a very good play on my opponent's part. Now that we know that my opponent has Rapid Hybridization, I will be very careful. But I still at least get a 3/3. Unfortunately, I can't attack in at all now because that Nivik Cyclops is a 4/4. Let's see, Metropolis Sprite comes down. My opponent's still having to play a little bit of defense. Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, I will take 2, that's for sure. Alright, this makes things a lot better, because now we can pump and give First Strike if we want to. Though I am considering just doing a Madcap skills here. Because that means my opponent have to double block, and then my Fog Lizard stays alive. Yeah, because we can Madcap skills the Frog Lizard and attack with both and give First Strike to the True Fire Paladin. Yeah, I'm good with that. Does my opponent have another Rapid Hybridization? No. Let me just make sure I'm doing the math correctly. Attack with both. If I give first strike, it kills the Metropolis Sprite. I'm only taking one, unless there is a instant or sorcery of some sort. And yeah, actually, because of that, if there is an instant sorcery, then my guy just gets eaten. I'm just going to go ahead and do the Frog Lizard attack. And we can do a trade here if my opponent wants. Surprisingly, does not want to. All right. So that is information to care about. And I just like having punish the enemy up next turn with True Fire Paladin in case there are any sort of crazies going on. Flux Charger. Okay. Defense is up. Attacking with the Sprite. Interesting. Because now with my opponent being tapped out, I have pretty easy attacks here. Attacking with all of these dudes, my opponent only does 2 damage to anything. And I can go ahead and pump 3 times, do a 4 plus a first strike, depending on how my opponent wants to block. I even have Scorchwalker back up to where you can maybe give first strike and then Scorchwalk something if I want. Alright, a little confused as to why that's happening. Because that's just dead on board. Okay. So we did see a little bit of the guild gates being getting us a little bit behind a turn. Certainly wasn't really a big deal at that point since we had it all. We already had a nice board state going. But just a little note: having seen rapid hybridization, that means my opponent is playing a little bit of removal, and it did kind of get us there. And having red means there could probably be a little bit more removal coming through. So how much do I want to deal with this Madcap skills, the Knightly Valor, and my Ethereal Armor versus, like, say, a Shield of Passage or an Aerial Maneuver? I think for now we're going to keep it the way it is. How much am I planning on playing around Rapid Hybridization? Probably not a whole lot. It's just going to mean I'm going to do kind of what I needed to do before, where I will be kind of careful of when I'm playing out my enchantments, as well as putting them on a weaker creature like a Viashino First Blade, like I did that time. And yeah, then just see if we can still just get an overwhelming board state and stick to the main game plan. Alright, here is our hand with a keep. Not awesome. We have a 2-drop plus, castable spells, so we're not mulliganing by any means. See if my opponent gets any aggression. That's cool. We're still going to play the Guildgate. The Orzhov Guildgate, because that's one that's actually more relevant. Goblin Electromancer, okay. Then we'll have our Mastiff on board next turn. And who knows, maybe an Ethereal Armor on the Mastiff so we can start bashing it early. Not tied to that, but definitely an option. Especially since if we're not massive rating anything next turn, we're for sure playing the Selesnya Guildgate. Let's see what my opponent does. Okay, so my opponent wants to offer the trade. I don't want to take it. Oh, cool. We'll play that guy, for sure. And yeah, I am going to go ahead and put Ethereal Armor on Boros Mastiff now. It might even draw out some sort of like rapid hybridization or something now. But I just want to start being aggressive. And with a Knightly Valor coming down in the near future, either I'm not going to put it also on the Boros Mastiff, but I might have the Scorchwalker out next, the Knightly Valor on that. Just makes 2 very strong threats. My opponent needs a number of different spells to make that work. Ooh, so my opponent gets to draw 2 cards. That's not fun. Ouch. Hey, there's a good card, right? Right. Yeah, I do think we get the True Fire Paladin online here and hold up first strike. So we might be able to block this Goblin Electromancer. But I still want to be bashing it with the Boros Mastiff, that's for sure. Annihilating Fire. Okay. Can't do much about that. Definitely a bummer. But that's exactly what we were kind of looking to see happen. So that we can, you know, bash out with more of these guys. Here we do attack with the True Fire Paladin because we're going to have a Pegasus backup. We can even pump once with our Paladin. Okay, playing a Spell Rupture. Still okay with that. Now having seen Spell Rupture, might have been, you know, now that I'll know that if I need to, I'll be playing out my spells on before I pump and stuff. That way I can, you know, kind of play around Spell Rupture. In here I am a little bit worried about any sort of, you know, big spell or removal spell to kind of 2-for-1. So I think what I'm just going to end up doing... do I want to Scorch Walk here? I think I do want to put more pressure on my opponent. I am going to continue to attack. See what my opponent does at that point. Could just be my opponent wanting to stay alive right now. Yeah, that kind of seems to be the case. And I was fine using my turn to get rid of a threat and keep my board state while my opponent has completely open mana in a guild that likes to do instants, that's for sure. Okay, so now we're kind of on this back burner plan. Just dump mana into True Fire Paladin and then we can Merciless Eviction as backup. I'm assuming my opponent will have some kind of something here. Okay, that is understandable. And, you know, here my opponent is feeling, you know, like just trying to stay alive. But we have a pretty loaded hand here, so I am not too worried about it. Wow, is my opponent just flooding out to the max? That definitely seems to be the case. Counterspell? Okay. So that definitely gets the counterspell on. Here I will do the Scorchwalker. I mean, my opponent's just burning through cards trying to stay alive. That's fine by me. Alrighty. And then we'll have a Knightly Valor. My opponent has no cards in hand, though I'm shortly about to have no cards in hand as well. And that's that. Yeah, my opponent got on the back foot there and was never really able to come out of it. And we were able to just keep that pressure on with our pretty sweet Truefire Paladin. Gotta love it. And then we'll quickly see you in the finals.